Hey guys, hope you guys have been enjoying the videos and enjoying making some of my favorite recipes that I like to make when I'm working or when I'm just at home and have nothing better to do but to cook for friends and family. Today's video is actually a suggestion from Instagram from Royal M. He wanted to see lasagna being made. So this video is for you, and I hope you guys enjoy and want to try to make lasagna. So we're gonna start with our ingredients. So the first thing I'm gonna show you is my triple mix of ground meat. So I have beef, veal, and pork. If you guys don't want to use a triple mix like this, you can just get lean ground beef, or you can use turkey or ground chicken. In the meat sauce, anything works. I've done it with almost all of them, and nobody can really taste a difference. Next, we're gonna have olive oil. We're just gonna use that to start to cook the meat with. Then I use my little cheat is I like to use these sweet basil and tomato sauces. It just saves time, and you know, if you find a product that is good and works, then why not? Then I have my tomato paste. You can either get it in these lovely little squeeze bottles, or you can get the little cans, and they just basically do pretty much the same thing. Then I'm going to grate into my tomato sauce some carrot. So I picked pretty much the thinnest, smallest one I could find, because I'm not going to use a lot. I'm just using it for flavor, and it also is a natural sweetener itself. Then I had some onions. This way I use up my onions and don't have to worry about cutting open a new one. I'm going to use 1 clove of garlic. And then I found these little handy dandy Italian herbs in like a squeeze bottle. My fresh herbs haven't come up yet to the amount that I want to be able to just cut and use. So this one has basil, oregano, rosemary, thyme, all the herbs that you would basically use in Italian cooking. This way I don't have to worry about chopping, and it's just easy. And then I'm just gonna move the video camera over, and then you'll see all the good stuff. So the next stuff we're gonna check out is we're gonna use ricotta cheese today instead of, so you could either use ricotta cheese, or you can actually make a cream sauce to go into your lasagna. Most people don't tend to use either. They usually just do sauce, but I tend to use a cream sauce. But today we're gonna use ricotta because it's just as good and just as creamy. It's just to help keep everything nice and delicious. Then I use mozzarella cheese. If you haven't noticed, I really like Rexdale. I just find that their stuff is really good, and it's really, when it bakes, it just makes such a nice crust, if you will. Then in this container I have fresh Parmesan cheese, and I usually get that from a place called Grande Cheese. If you can't go to a place like that, then Fortino's and I'm sure No Frills probably have fresh Parmesan in their cheese counters. You could use the Kraft Parmesan cheese that is in the grocery aisles, but I tend to stay away from that because that Parmesan cheese tends to have chemicals in it to keep it shelf stable. So I try to go with the fresh stuff as possible as I can. Then we're gonna use butter. We're gonna use that on our casserole dishes. Then I have 2 options of pasta. So at Fortino's, as you can see, I bought fresh sheets, lasagna sheets, which are pretty good and makes making the lasagna a little bit quicker. And if you can't get the lasagna sheets, then you can always get the oven ready lasagna noodles. It takes a little longer to cook than if you did the fresh sheets, and it would take more sauce because you want to keep everything nice and moist so that it cooks and it doesn't stay hard. You want your noodles, once it's cooked, to be soft. So let me just grab the camera so I can show you the rest of the stuff. So these would be the 2 casseroles that I'm going to do, because I'm going to do one with the fresh and I'm going to demonstrate one with the oven ready noodles. So they're pretty much basically the same. I think these are the 7 by 13 or 12 that we're going to be doing. And then I have my little strainer to pick up the noodles from the water. That's for the fresh ones, not the oven ready. Then I have my cutting board, my knife, I have my wooden spoon, my ladle, my peeler, and my pastry blender to break down the meat. Then on the stove, I have my pan that I'm going to make the meat sauce with. And the other one is what we're going to cook the noodles in. And then that green bowl is going to be filled with water and ice to cool down the noodles so that we want to stop the cooking. And then I'll probably have a kitchen towel on the table that we're going to place the noodles down on so that we can cut them to fit our casserole. So I will start my meat sauce and I'll get that ready, and then we'll go into actually assembling our lasagna. Okay guys, so now I'm just going to quickly explain and start my tomato sauce. My meat sauce or my bolognese sauce, because it works for pretty much anything. And this sauce you can even use if you just want to have a meat sauce with pasta. This is what you can make. So we're just going to add a little bit of olive oil, and that's pretty much what we're going to use the olive oil for, is just for our meat sauce. So we're just gonna let that warm up and get all good. We're gonna coat the bottom of our pan. I have mine on like a medium-high heat, and then once, because we want things to sear and we want things to caramelize, and that's why you never cook with a low heat, because you're not going to get the desired effects. So now that that's nice and warm and coated, we're going to add our onions, and we're going to let that saute for a little bit. I also have on my cutting board my minced garlic, so I'm using my fresh garlic. And then I've also grated my carrots, because I just don't want chunks. I just want little bits that will cook down and melt away, because we want to make the meat the star of our sauce. So we're going to give the onions a little mix, and then we're going to add the garlic, we're going to add the carrot, and we'll add our meat, and we'll let that all sit and marinate. So that's what our process is going to be. So we're going to do the onions, the garlic, the carrots. We're going to saute that all together. And then I'm going to add the meat. We're going to brown the meat and cook the meat. And then I'm going to add the tomato sauce. And once I add when I'm ready to add the tomato sauce, then I will show you what it will look like. Okay guys, so here's my ground beef, pretty much almost all cooked. So what we're gonna do is we are going to make a little bit of tomato paste, about probably a good tablespoon. I'm gonna put that in there. We're gonna take our mixed herb tube of herbs, and we're gonna put pretty much probably, let's say that would be like a tablespoon and a half in, and we're gonna mix that up. Okay, so that we can get everything nice and flavorful. Everything looks good. Mix that in. So the tomato paste, just like the carrots, will help sweeten up the whole tomato sauce. Ooh, lovely. Then I'm just going to hit it with some salt and pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of the salt and then some of the pepper. And I'm going to stir that around. Now, even if you were to say make ground beef for taco, you could do the same thing, except I would omit the tomato sauce, and I would actually lose a little bit of tomato juice, and then you just change up the herbs and the spices, because taco mix uses different spices. But it would be probably the same process in cooking the ground beef, and you can do the same thing. So now I've added my first jar of tomato sauce, and what I've done is I've went and got a little bit of water to clean out the jar, because you want to try to use as much of everything. You don't really want to leave stuff in the jar. And then I want to make it a little bit more saucy, because you want the liquid to help cook your lasagna when it's in the oven. So as much as I like this is like this, I'm going to make it a little bit more saucy. This would be perfect for if you were just having like penne pasta or spaghetti or any cut of pasta. You could use it like this, and it would be perfect. Some Parmesan cheese, and you know, taste it. So we're gonna add our second jar, and I'm gonna wash it out again. Not a lot of water. Just put the lid on top. You want to give the jar a shake, and then in. That way it cleans the jar, as you can see. Put the lid on, and then into the recycling, and you're done. So now this is perfect. This is what we want to see for your lasagna. If you really like really saucy pasta meat sauce for when you just want to make on the side, and anything that's extra you can use. Just put it in like a Tupperware container. You can freeze it. It's really good at freezing. So even if you wanted to make a big batch of meat sauce and make a lasagna and then have this for like another meal, it's perfect to go into the freezer. And you can just pop it out whenever you want it and make whatever you want. Just gonna take a taste just to see how it is. Oops. We're gonna turn it down so that we don't make the sauce angry. It's not bad. I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the herbs. And then what I'm gonna do, which is gonna sound really weird, is I'm gonna grab some milk. And we're just gonna put just a little into the sauce. And you're probably like, oh my god, that's gross. Actually, what it'll do, just like the tomato paste, it'll help neutralize the sauce and make it less acidic, if you will. Don't really, you know, and there's some things that you never know. You put it in, you think, oh my god, that's gross, or why are you putting that there? But it actually works really well. I'm just gonna do a little bit more salt and pepper, and my sauce is done, and we'll go into blanching our noodles. Okay guys, so now we're gonna do our lasagna noodles, because I'm gonna do the fresh ones. So I have about 11 sheets that I'm gonna pre-cook. So I'll show you. I'm gonna show you my sheets. So they're pretty decent sized sheets that we're gonna do, and there's about 11 of them. So we're gonna cook those, and I'm just gonna quickly show you. So once we do that, then into our little ice water, we're gonna stop the cooking. So we're gonna blanch our pasta in our salted water. I always salt the water. And then we're gonna stop the cooking process with the ice water. And then once we finish cooking, I have tea towels on the table, the island, or the kitchen table, whichever one, that I'm gonna place them on, because we're gonna take them from here and then we're gonna put them onto our casserole dishes. And this is where we're also gonna, if we need to cut some of them down or whatever, this is where we're gonna do it, and then I'll show you the process there. But I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with the noodles. So we have our water boiling, and we're gonna do each noodle first by itself. So you're gonna basically put it in the water, let it do its thing for maybe 10-15 seconds, let it take a little swim, and then what we're gonna do is, I have this type of strainer that I pick it up, let the water drain from it. If you have a slotted spoon, a spoon with like the holes, so then from there we're gonna go into the water, and we're gonna just let it cool down for a second, and then you just basically pull it out, let it drip, and then from there it go onto the tea towel, and we're just gonna let that rest there. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll go to assembly, and we'll see you in a couple of seconds. Okay guys, so we have our pasta sheets all done and on our tea towels. So now I have my casserole dish and I have my butter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paper towel. I'm just going to fold it up into like a thick square. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the butter and I'm going to take a nice blob. And we're going to line our casserole dish with it. We're going to get all the sides, the bottom, and if you need a little bit more, then we can easily just grab a little bit more. We're going to do the sides. This way it'll act as our non-stick spray, and really butter is delicious no matter what. But it'll help keep the sides from sticking. It'll add some flavor. And like that. So there's our buttered pan. Next, what we're gonna do is we're just layering it, and we're doing about 2 different layers. So we're gonna put down, let me get my ladle. We're gonna take a little spoonful. I'm gonna put it down on the bottom, just a little bit more. Not a lot for the bottom. Then we're gonna take a spoon, and you're basically just gonna move it all the way around the bottom of the pan. Because this is also gonna act like so that your pasta doesn't stick to the bottom of the casserole dish, so that you can easily pick it up. And then it'll also caramelize while cooking and just add flavor to the bottom of the first layer of pasta. Let's get it all there. Looks good. So put that there. Then we're gonna take our Parmesan cheese and we're gonna give it a sprinkle onto the bottom of the pan. So now this is where it comes to juggling and figuring out your sheets. So the sheets are pretty much almost close to the size of the pan. So we need to slice, at least one will get sacrificed for our layers. So we're gonna do the edge here where we're missing and the top here. So because we're missing that, we're gonna miss that again on the next layer. So we're gonna put the next full layer starting over on this side so that you can alternate. So the missing pieces aren't always on the same side, and it just makes it look a whole lot nicer. So then we're gonna take one and we cut it, and then we fit it there, like so. Even if it overlaps a little bit, that's okay. If it doesn't, you can just put it there and don't worry about it. And then we need to fill the top there. So we're gonna take another one and we're gonna cut it like so. If you don't wanna use the knife, you can use either a paring knife or you can use your pizza cutter. So then we're gonna figure out how long we need it. So then we need to cut off about maybe that much. And then we lay it down. And that's how you make your first full layer of lasagna using the fresh sheets. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the meat sauce. So I usually do like one full one, maybe a little bit, because I like mine a little saucy and cheesy. And then you do the same thing as you started the bottom. So you move it to the sides. You want everything to get nice and coated. You need a little bit more, which I'm going to need. Just going to need probably another little half one. And to the side. There's our sauce. Okay, just like that. So then what we'll do is we'll go Parmesan cheese. mozzarella. You don't want to put a lot, just enough. Like so. And then what we'll do is we're going to take the ricotta, and this is where you make sure that your hands are washed and clean, because we're going to take some and we're going to start breaking it up and adding it to this layer. Like so. Okay. Let me just quickly take that down. So then on to the next layer. So now this layer has the ricotta. So your next layer is only going to have the Parmesan cheese and the mozzarella. And then the next layer after that will have all 3 cheeses. So we're going to start this layer. So like I said, we started the first full sheet at the top here. So now we're going to start it at the bottom, closest to me, like so. And then we're going to take this, cut it. Sorry about that. So next, we'll put that long piece there. So now we just got to do here. So like we did with the first one, we're going to measure it, and then we're going to cut off what we don't need and place it so, like that. And then we're going to add sauce. Spread it out. To the edges. So, and then what we'll do is Parmesan cheese, and then mozzarella, because right now you don't want to put too much mozzarella. We'll leave a lot of mozzarella to the end onto the top. So we've done what, 2 layers, and this will probably get me maybe another 2. That's what I like about the fresh sheets, is you can get more layers into a pan than you would with the dried oven ready ones. Those you tend to have to use less because of the waves. So what we'll do is we'll do a long one. Short side. I'm going to always measure, because not every sheet is always the same. Okay, so that's ready. And sops. So then on this layer, we're going to to do the ricotta. So we're gonna have like alternate layer with the creaminess. That way it's not overpowering, and you don't want too much because then it'll just, every layer will slide away. So, like so. Okay. So then we're gonna do Parmesan. Mozzarella. And then we're going to add the ricotta. Don't need to add a lot because once it melts, it'll melt everywhere. It just doesn't stay in like one place. So you just want to get a nice dab of everything everywhere as best you can. And this is like good because you can always make one day and make multiple, because even like this, they're good frozen. They freeze up very well. So then we'll go our next layer. So and the one place, just put it right up against. This one's a little short, so I have the little pieces. So what I'm going to do is fill that in with these pieces by just cutting them into smaller pieces, just layering them. Like so. So then now our next one, just the mozzarella. Now, if I was doing this with my mom, growing up, because our background is Italian, we would make, every so once in a while, we would make, spend it literally a weekend, and we would make lasagna. So my mom taught me from a young age how to make our lasagna. So, and she used to teach me by learning how to make the meat sauce, and that would be my job. Until I did a good job on that, I never moved on to anything else until she thought I was ready. So, and it was a good skill to have, because when I started my cooking career, this was something that I had in my back pocket, and my chef would ask, hey, do you know how to make something? And I'd be like, yep. And that's how you impress people. If you have a good skill, and it's part of why I like cooking. So this is that. So then we're gonna do our last, probably our last layer, which will end up with the ricotta and the mozzarella on the top. Just pat this one down, like so. It looks great. So this definitely will be our last one. strip. That's it. Strip. Right. Nice. And this is my favorite part, is the last layer, because that's where I love putting the most cheese. Because I love having melted, bubbly, golden brown cheese on top. And who doesn't love cheese like that? So then, all the way to the edge. Lovely. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna do Parmesan cheese. My mom, if she was here right now, she would tell me, you buy so much cheese. But I love cheese. So then we're gonna put the rest of the ball of cheese that I had on the top. So that's where you save the most of it to go on top. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I can always do more. If you want more than this, then you can always put more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ricotta as well. Just fill some of those spots. And there is your lasagna that is ready for the oven. So I would put this in a 350 oven wrapped with tin foil. And I probably do, because it's fresh like this, probably half an hour, so 30 minutes at 350. First 15 minutes will probably be in a aluminum foil that you kind of tent so that you don't ruin the cheese. That is your lasagna, and then I'll show you what it'll look like covered in the aluminum foil. And I'll also just demo the dry pasta, how you would put it down into the pans. And then I'll show you the finished product once it's out of the oven. Okay guys, so I'm gonna quickly put together a lasagna making our oven ready noodles. And hopefully it'll be just as good. So we'll try to pull some of these out and come like that. So same process as doing it with the fresh. So we're gonna put a little down and just move it around. So. Parmesan. Okay, our first one we're going to put down. Pretty much is almost the same size as our pan. So we're going to lay them down, make sure that they're touching, like so, right? So same process. sauce. This one might take just a little bit more sauce, but we'll see. And just move them around. This one though, like I was saying with the fresh one, because the fresh one is already pretty much pre-cooked a little bit because we blanched them a little bit earlier. So they're already, cooking process is almost ready and done. So this one is going to take a little longer to cook. Usually I would maybe for the half an hour keep it covered and cook it like that for half an hour, and then maybe another 15-20 minutes depending outside of that so that it gets its color. So then I'm going to put down my mozzarella like so. Then I'm going to do my ricotta. And this is perfect because this will probably give us 2 lasagnas. So now you can do it 2 ways. You can either put down the lasagna sheet down like you just did, or you can put them down this way. But if you put it down, you're gonna have to break them at that point, which sometimes is hard because I like doing that, but you would have to cut them. So we won't do that. We'll just continue putting them in side by side. But sometimes I like doing it that way so that it interlocks. And some sheets seem a little bit not wide enough. Okay, I did it. So I broke one just to fill that one little spot in. So then what we'll do, we'll sauce it up. Come on, sauce. Try our best to get as much sauce onto these ones, because the sauce is what's going to help cook this one the most. So, okay, so then Parmesan. So, and then our mozzarella. Then we'll do sheets again. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So this will be our we're probably going to do like one more layer of pasta, and then that's it, because that's I think all the sauce I got. This one I'm making a little bit more saucy than I would the fresh one, just so the pasta has enough to cook, like I said. And this one is, I think, ricotta. But what we'll do is we'll make this one, because I'm only going to have one more layer that I can do. So I'll just make this a Parmesan and mozzarella one again. I'll cheese it up. My layers again. Almost. Not the most amazing snap, but you know what? Those pieces in just so that I can use them. And then with the remaining of my sauce, let's hope that covers it all. Almost. See if I can get a little bit more out of my pot. Perfect. Just enough. Made enough for two. But if you don't want to make two lasagnas, depending on what type of pasta you get, I prefer the fresh. I think it cooks, seems like it's a lot more steps, but it actually cooks way faster. So that's our last one. This one I'm definitely gonna make a little more mozzarella heavy. And Parmesan, which my mom would be, oh my God, too much. Here you go. Like I said, I like me some cheese, so I like mine super cheesy. But you do it however you want. If you don't want so much cheese, especially on your last layer, which is like your showpiece layer, you don't have to if you don't want to. How you feel. If you want more cheese, put more cheese. If you don't want a lot of cheese, you don't have to put it. It's up to you. Even if you want in the top to put a little bit of cheddar cheese, you could do that, but don't tell any nunas because they would be like, why are you messing with that? And then we're gonna put some ricotta just to finish using it. And that, boys and girls, would be your lasagna with the oven ready noodles. There's so many ways of doing it, and people have so many different styles of how they like to make their lasagna. So you know what? You do how you feel. If you don't want to do ricotta or cream sauce in your lasagna, you don't have to do it. If you don't want to put Parmesan, don't have to put it. But I personally like all cheese, any cheese. If you want to do a mix of mozzarella and cheddar, go for it. It works. I've done it. People have loved it. So cooking is, you do what you feel you like, and you can do it. So that is our second lasagna with the oven ready noodles. You cover this maybe half an hour to maybe 45 minutes covered with the aluminum foil, and then probably another 15-20 minutes uncovered to melt the top and get that nice cheesy bubbly crust on the top, and then you're good to go. So I'll show you after what it looks like with the aluminum foil and then after it's baked. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to tent the casseroles. So this one has little handles. So I'll try to get long enough piece. So pretty much cover the whole thing. And then what we'll do is start at one edge, kind of bring it together, and then I kind of like pop it up and kind of like dome it a bit. And you just start one edge and you just kind of go in, push it up a little bit, and then come down like so. Try to tighten it. You want to keep it kind of loose, kind of tight at the same time. So because we have the handles, it's perfect for putting it into the oven. So then that one is ready to go. So like I said, 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes, 30 to 40, tented, because this is the oven ready noodles. And then you would take that off after your timer goes and do maybe 15, 20 minutes until the cheese is bubbly. What I also like to do when I check my pasta is I usually get a steak knife or my paring knife or even my chef's knife. And I usually will go in, and if it goes in easy for the oven ready, then you know your pasta is done. Same thing I do even with the fresh. If it slides in easier than how it does right now, then you know for sure you're done. So then with the fresh pasta, it's about half an hour, maybe 20 to 30 minutes with the aluminum foil on it, and then maybe 10-15 minutes for the cheese. Then you do it again, long enough piece of aluminum foil, start at one end, kind of tuck it in, get it so that it can stick, and just go in, tuck it up a little bit on one side, do the same thing, because this one has a different style, kind of like that. And there you go. So that one is a fresh pasta, and that one's ready to go. And that will go into a 350-degree oven, and we'll check it out once it's cooked. Okay guys, so I baked it for my half hour. So I'm going to take the tin foil off and show you what it looks like. And then we're going into our final cooking. So I'm going to take my paring knife, or you can take a fork, whichever one you decide is safest. And we're just going to put it in through the center just to see if it's cooked. Basically it just slides in nicely, no hesitation, so we're good. The center is all baked, so now we're going to bake the top, and I'll show you what the top looks like. So that's how the top will look like while it's been tinfoiled. So it started to melt. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bake it for maybe 10-15 minutes to finally melt all of it, and it'll make a nice golden brown crust. Some of the ricotta will actually caramelize, and it'll be all delicious. So catch you in 15. Okay guys, so here is my finished lasagna, all nice and done. All the cheese is melted and almost coming out of my casserole dish. So hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully you guys do it and try it out and enjoy. Thanks. See you in the next one.